All right, I have an animation here. These are linear keyframes. I'm going to go ahead and apply some control curves. So I'm just going to go ahead and select these keyframes, could select the property if I wanted to. And up here, by default, I have a bunch of presets. And I'm just going to pick this smooth ease preset, and I'm going to go ahead and click this button here, add curve marker. So what it does is it creates a control layer up here, which houses our control curves. And you see it has this smooth ease slider, and hitting U on the keyboard, I can go into the slider itself and see that this curve profile has been added. If I modify this here in the graph editor, it will modify everywhere that this curve is referenced in the comp. So another way I could also adjust this would be up here in the control panel. I could change, maybe I'll make a small adjustment here, make this a little snappier. And what I'm going to do is hit the checkbox, and you'll see that now that change has actually been applied to this curve. So let me see what this looks like on the animation. Okay, so what it's doing is it's taking that curve profile and applying it between every two keyframes. If I go to the graph editor, turn on the expression graph, and you can see that without the expression graph turned on, these are just linear point A to point B keyframes. But once I turn on the graph, the expression graph, you can see how the curve is being mapped to drive timing across these animations. So if I go up here to this drop down now, there is a control layer in the comp, and that control layer and this panel are communicating. So this control layer's sliders are now referenced in this panel. And so I can select the curve, it'll pull it up here on the UI graph, and I can actually make these changes here and change the structure of this curve profile, hit the checkbox, and then watch what happens here in the graph editor. Make that change, and then all the curves adjust that are being referenced here. Okay, so if I look at the layer itself, it's got this marker that says smooth ease. That's just the name of the curve it's referencing from the control layer. It tells the expression which curve to use at what time. So I've only got one curve so far on my control layer. I'm going to go to the beginning of the third segment. And the marker has to be at or before the beginning of the segments that you want to apply the new curve to. So I'm actually going to go up to presets and having marker mode selected, because that's what we're in. We're in marker mode, and that marker mode is where the names of the markers on the layer drive which curves the expression is applying between which keyframes. We've got some overshoot and anticipate. So I'm going to actually do both, anticipate plus overshoot. I'm going to click on that. So what's going to happen is we're going to start out with smooth ease, and then we're going to go for these two segments, we are going to see anticipate plus overshoot. So that's the basic way to use this tool. You can use it on many, many properties, and it'll just basically have this procedural feedback where you are able to adjust lots of different things. For example, timing, without having to worry about changing your bezier curves and messing with easing, because the timing, the curve is automatically stretched between your keyframe and its neighbor. All right, so moving on to a camera move use case. You can see this is a basic camera move where we're drifting, and then we do a faster move. And what I want to do, and then we go back into drift, and then back into a fast move, and then drift. So what I want to do is I want to apply a curve between specific segments, then go transition seamlessly into After Effects native, animation, and then go back into another curve and then drift. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and select just all these keyframes here because I just want to apply a curve marker to each of these, and it'll also apply the expression. So smooth ease again. By the way, by default, if there's no control layer in the comp, it's going to show me all of these presets. So I'm going to go ahead and go to smooth ease and add a curve marker. And before I do, though, I do want velocity matching because we've got some drift before and we've got some drift after. So I'm going to make sure that some velocity matching is applied. I'm going to say start and end because I want the beginning of the segment and the end of the segment to match velocity. Set a marker before the segment begins, and you see it adds the curve name along with the VM, which stands for velocity match, and that'll tell the expression how to use this curve. So it'll match the velocity coming in, and then it'll match the outgoing After Effects keyframe animation. Now, what it's trying to do first is actually apply the curve between every two keyframes, and we actually don't want that. We want it to apply the curve to the first segment and then transition into the native After Effects animation for the second segment. So I'm going to hit this N marker, and that'll say native. So what I've got drift into native, and then you can see it's kind of being wonky there because it's still just using After Effects native animation. So I'm going to go before this segment here, and I need another smooth ease. That's selected, and velocity matching is still on, so I'll set another one of those markers there, and then another native to go transition back into After Effects. So look at what is happening, and just go to Y rotation in the graph editor and turn on the expression graph. And you can see this, we've got the drift happening. Make some more space here. I've got the drift happening. It goes seamlessly into the curve for the move, and then it goes back into drift, and then again, seamlessly transitioning into After Effects native. And you can see as I drag this up and down, the curve shape is changing and scaling and maintaining velocity matching depending on the difference between the two keyframes, this one here, which is the end of the curve, and then this one, which is creating this slope. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. Actually, I need to make more space here. All right, so let's say I really like this curve here. Smooth ease is working for me well here, but really I don't want the exact same curve every time I want an easing camera move. I want a different curve here. So I'm gonna do this by coming up here. I have smooth ease selected, and really what I wanna do is duplicate it so that I can work with it. So I'm gonna hit this plus, add as new curve. And rather than updating the other curve, it's going to add a custom curve. If I select the control layer here and hit U, I can see my custom curve has been added, and the keyframes are way over here at the beginning of the comp, and that's just where it's being stored, the profile. But it's the exact same curve as the smooth ease curve. So I want to use that over here. Now, since this situation is more like a one-off, I'm using these curve profiles to drive multiple properties, but I don't necessarily plan to just reuse them across the comp, although I could. So I really want to see the keyframes of that control layer over the top of the keyframes I'm trying to apply that smoothing motion to. So I'm going to go ahead and just select these two keyframes and go up to the utilities, making sure that custom curve 1 is selected. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this button, fit curve to keys. And that'll actually just stretch the curve profile keyframes across this selected area. And so now I need to make sure that these markers reflect that curve for this time. So I'm going to go to where the markers are on these 3 camera control layers. And I'm going to go up again to utilities and hit this pen icon. And I'm going to rename the curve from custom curve 1. I'm just going to say cam move 2 and apply that. And it's renamed the curve. And I'm actually going to rename another curve, cam move smooth ease. I'm going to name that cam move 1. And there we go. So it's actually updated the names of both of these, and that's just because I haven't yet updated these markers. So I'm going to go do that. Animate tab, select the curve I want, cam move 2, and make sure velocity matching is on, and there, just hit the add curve, and here we go. So now if I move these keyframes around, it's actually adjusting the internal timing of the move. Let me make this a snappier move. I'm going to deselect these graph icons there so that I'm only working with the slider. Make some space here. I want this to be a snappier motion. So I'm going to start just adjusting this one curve. Everything's updating, all the properties that reference it via marker mode. So I'm just making this a steeper curve, so it's going to be snappier. Okay, so that's a much snappier motion. So I can actually select both of these curves together, and you see the first curve is way over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the first segment, utilities, and make sure that the first cam move is selected. Go up to utilities and then fit the curve to the keys. Then I'm going to select both of these curve profiles and go to the graph editor. So you can see that the second curve it's longer, but it's actually steeper than the first. So I can see a really nice contrast between the two.